Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by Srivatsan Raghavan, CIO at OHLA USA. Sri, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of knowing when someone's gotten past their security. That's where Cyberlinks comes in. We've partnered with the best cybersecurity companies in the world to be able to provide our clients with the best solutions at the best prices. So whether it's managed SIEM, SOC, EDR, MDR, XDR, you name it, we'll help you find the best solution at the best price. Find out more at cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. Sri, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about OHLA USA and your role there as CIO?
Sure, Matt. So OHLA USA, we are a general contracting company. Our parent is in Spain they go by OHLA Group. OHLA Group is roughly a $4 billion organization, if I'm not wrong, but OHLA USA, we are a $1.3 billion organization. We are primarily into heavy civil public infrastructure work. So most of our clients are public agencies, like you name it, like a road transportation authority or a metropolitan transportation authority. We do operations in New York area, then Illinois area, California, Florida. In Florida, we actually have two different business models. One is the heavy civil roadway work. Then we also do the vertical work, but not high-rise, but mid-rise, like schools, hospital buildings, etc. We also have an electrical contracting company as part of the group, and we are a multi-company. So there are 7 different companies within this OHLA USA umbrella. So we are in Florida. We also have like 4 asphalt production plants. So we are into semi-manufacturing, and we do have about 400 vehicles, equipment, trucks, etc., etc. So so that's the wider scale of our operations. As far as my role goes, I want to say I'm like the head of IT, so Chief Information Officer, but I also play the role of the technology officer and also the security officer. So I lead a very small team. So we are, my entire organization is about 15, 16 employees, give or take. Of which about like 4 of them are IT help desk technicians. Another, we have like 8 software developers, like mix it up, full stack development, Power BI, and the business intelligence, report development, ERP space. Then the remaining is basically the mid-level managers. We have 1 infrastructure manager, 1 security manager, and 1 overall IT operations manager who also manages the service desk manager. And we service about like 30, 40, I would say, business applications in the organization. We have our own software development team, as I just mentioned. So we have been in the game of developing our own software, like the business process management application for the last 10 years. In fact, 15th of June, we've wrapped up 10 years of in-house development. So that's so that's our story here. We try to support the organization with whatever is needed to achieve that operational efficiency in a continuous improvement basis.
Very cool. I mean, I'm struck by the fact that small is one of these relative terms. So you use it and say we're a small team, but and a small company, like $1.3 billion, it's not so, I guess it's a relative term, right? But it's what really strikes me as interesting is just how much you're getting done with a relatively small team. I mean, in-house development, that alone, a lot of people would be reluctant to do that, kind of on I don't want to say a shoestring budget, but on a small budget
Mhm.
and with a small team, while you're doing all the other stuff that's expected of IT in terms of help desk, infrastructure, security, strategy, everything else. So you seem to be doing a lot with not a lot of people.
Yeah, that is very true. And frugality has been inculcated throughout the organization. So, that sort of explains why, I said what I said. Uh, Also, it translated into how we wanted to manage our business. So we have four core pillars of like where our mind would be set towards, right? What IT brings as a value to the table. So the first one that we have is keeping IT lean. So from that perspective, we have zero network engineer, right? So last year, probably same time, we became a no van company. So now we don't have a corporate network. So we also adapt and follow zero trust in a very profound way, I would say. So we have crossed quite a few flagship implementations in our organization. One of that is eliminating our corporate van. Now, we have about 80 job sites. Yeah, I have four regional offices, one corporate headquarters, and based in New York, which is where I sit. So eliminating a van. Before that, we were one of the early adapters among the companies that I am familiar with. Uh, so whatever I say, you may have to take it with a grain of salt. Like I'm not speaking for the entire world. Like I'm speaking for companies in this space. I can compare with the parent organization in Spain. They have their own IT, and some of the organizations that spinned off from our organization over the past 15 years. I've been with this company for 15 years now. My internship does not count, so that would have made it 16. So we were early adapters of like a software. What is that? Software defined networking. So it is plug and play networking, mesh protocol. I don't know if I can name all the products, but if I can, you can cut it out if you have to be agnostic. But
No, we don't at all. I think the cool part is I think most of the time people are, kind of think that, but no, go ahead. I think it's really cool because I think zero trust is so important. But
Mhm.
what I really love about your approach is I think that from people hearing your frugal, do more with less approach.
In
I
fact,
think when people hear
not even
zero,
I don't even say that. You cannot do more with. You have to do what is needed with what you have,
there you
right?
go.
Like
You-
you
There you
don't have
go.
a choice of leaving things off the table because you don't have the resources. Because especially when you get into IT, it's a binary, zero or one. Things work or don't work. So
Fair enough. But I think it's more of a doing implementing something like zero trust on a budget, without having kind of a blank check. So I think,
mhm,
yeah, if you want to kind of dive into it and say, hey, look, this is how we did it, and it didn't
mhm,
break the bank. Because I think for a
mhm.
lot of people, even looking at it, they think, you know what, this is gonna be expensive. Um, and could you kind of walk us through kind of what happened with you guys, why, how it played out and kind of the cost savings, if there was any.
Definitely, I can definitely talk about it. In fact, I have to give you a small a dramatic uh, backdrop of how we went into zero trust, right? So, as a company, we came under one umbrella. All the group of companies, the small companies I'm talking about, we came under one umbrella in about 2016. So that's exactly the aligns with the time when I became head of IT for the organization. We were primarily focused on IT mergers, like the ERP mergers, and we were chasing business process management, building the software team. My 80% of my effort was into programming and focusing on ERP and business processes, workflows, you name it, right? Like we have 12 different departments, like functional units. They all support so many business processes, and we want to go through the digital transformation, bring everything onto a portal. We want to be that in-house Amazon.com,
Mhm.
do everything on one portal. So that uh, uh, focus totally sidetracked us from focusing on security. You know, then we were not getting hacked at all, right? Like we had hardly any incidents to report during the the first 5 years, 6 years of this group as a working as a group, and me heading the IT department. We had hardly any incidents. And there was also a thought that, okay, everything is behind the firewall. We have a VPN, and everything is behind the firewall. So, we are secure. Nobody is going to get across the firewall. Or the other way around, we have nothing exposed outside. So, you have the firewall which is going to protect us. So, you have that concept on one side, then no history of any attack on the other side. We must be doing something right, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And the last part, which is, who are we? Like we are a small or mid-sized construction company. What do we have to lose? Who is going to attack us, right? So all these were playing out all at the same time. A decent success record. Uh, we had a network engineer who always spoke in length about network security. You know, so while all this was happening, right around COVID, during peak COVID, 2001, we had a cyber breach. The defense in depth did not work. It's not necessarily the defense in depth, because the defense in depth, we did have a decent defense in depth, but it was never put to use because we almost gave up an identity, which was that we were not hacked. The hacker just logged in. Right? It was all the best practices that were lacking, and not just the best practices. I wouldn't even say that we were lacking best practices. We had the practices which we thought were best and good enough to protect us. And just the hygiene around identity management, we realize that it's so fundamental. It doesn't matter how much of defense in depth that you have. You can have five SOC companies, trying to protect you, but you give up an identity easily outside, and you don't manage identities. Not just identities, any IT asset for that matter. You take identities, endpoint, So we realized that what we were doing is not at all sufficient, and that only came as uh, like a thought when we went through the experience of being breached. Our domain was, we lost control of our domain, and we took help from Microsoft. They have like different arms, because we were spending a lot on Azure. By then, I'm talking about 2021. So between 2017 to 2021, we had like 4 on-prem data centers from 4 of these companies that came under one umbrella. So we consolidated all that, went through projects to migrate everything to Azure, and we had 0 on-prem presence. So we were 100% cloud by then. So luckily for us, because of our spending with Microsoft, they were able to support us right away with some help to recover from the attack. And that is when, almost in a reverse engineering way, which I can actually correlate with how I became also have a reasonable expertise on ERP, because it was all about reverse engineering. Nobody sat me and tutored me on ERP, or so with cybersecurity now, right? Fast forward today. So during that entire exercise, Microsoft team, they deployed quite a few software which we did not have. Basically, the suite of Defenders and Sentinel, which we did not have. We had other stuff, like we had the next gen antivirus, behavior. It would look at the behavior and provide protection based on behavior. So we had all that, but we did not have these defenders. And through the defenders and getting a little bit into the literature behind all the defender suites of Defender and Sentinel, it was a personal journey. I got exposed to the world of zero trust, because Microsoft is packaging the concept of zero trust around all these tools. And that gave a very profound understanding of what zero trust means and what zero trust is set to achieve, and looking at everything holistically. So that is how we got introduced into zero trust. Then from that point onwards, so what we also did is I personally went through the getting certified on the information security manager, right, the CISM from ISACA, because I thought that is the bare minimum I can do from my capacity. Lucky that I was able to keep my job. My leaderships were, aware enough that they didn't want to chop off a head symbolically. They understood that we were victims, right? And there was enough due diligence that we were achieving by then. So it was a matter of oversight, but there were lessons learned and not necessarily, you don't have to onboard new people, So it worked in my favor. So I was able to keep my job, and I thought, I need to, as a department, we are a IT team. We are not a security team. Even today, we are not a security team, right? But how do me, to begin with, without, I'm a software developer, a ERP guy, getting into IT and managing the IT business. I'm not a security guy yet. So how do I onboard myself to become a security guy? And how do I make my IT team, as a team, how do we all become a security aware and become the not just the IT team, but a security minded IT team that would offset and augment dedicated security staff, which we cannot afford. As an organization, we cannot afford. So those were the challenges, and those were the problem statements I was seeking solution to. So during my information security management, when I went through those certification, excuse me, so I did get introduced to some of these frameworks like NIST, which is my favorite. You have so many frameworks out there. So what I found was a integrated approach of NIST on one side and the zero trust. When I say zero trust, I want to just narrow down to how Microsoft presents the zero trust, right? So you have definitely the principles of zero trust. That aside, I'm talking about the concept of zero trust, where Microsoft breaks it down into identities, endpoints, data, infrastructure, network, applications, right? So you have these buckets, and then NIST gives you a framework of, you identify, you protect, then you detect, you respond, and you recover. So, hey, how do we combine these two together to come up with a framework where we can create projects? Right. So that's what we did. If you put these two in a matrix, you would get these cells. Any project, you can actually put them into these buckets. So we went through, let's say, implementation of a privileged access management. It would fall under, identify and of identities, right? So the asset management of identities. Or if you are looking at Defender for endpoint, implementing a Defender for endpoint, it would be about protecting your endpoints. So, fast forward, when we implement a secure printing, so you have the endpoints, you have the data, and then you are protecting it. So you can come up with a roadmap where you are targeting all these cells or the intersection. Anything and everything that you do, you can pretty much place it in these intersections. And that's exactly what we did. Then of course the best practices were presented to us by the Microsoft team, and we did. It was very short engagement, so it's not like they gave us a roadmap and we couldn't afford them beyond the 2-3 weeks mark. So we took that framework, we took that roadmap, and we started implementing. And we are very the principles of zero trust, principle of least privilege and micro segmentation. We started implementing it everywhere, not just on the technology side, but also on the process side. I can get into that, but if you have
Sure.
any follow-up questions, I can get into that.
Yeah. No, I think that's really it's really interesting because I think every time people get lulled into a sense of security and you know it's been working well, we nothing's happened, what we're doing must be working
Hmm.
um until it's not, right? And then
Yeah,
once it does, then it's then the checkbook opens up and the eyes open, people start looking at security with a little more interest. It's funny how it goes from being a completely on the back burner, not really important, to very much now the most important thing, very quickly. And it's one of those things that I don't know that there's anything else quite like it, where you can kind of take it for granted. It's like, lightning's not going to strike. That's true. It hasn't struck so far,
yeah.
but you never know. It's not like they're coming after you in particular necessarily. You just happen to have a vulnerability that they happen to be exploiting and they happen to have come across you. It is, in most cases, it's purely random. In some cases, it's very targeted, of course, which I think
Hmm.
is part of what lulls people into that sense of security. Like, we're not Chase, right? Gets some astronomical number. I should get this one right. I should have this stat written down, but it is a massive number every hour, the number of hacking attempts they get, and even just the number that they get from China. I heard Jamie Dimon talking about this. It is a huge number. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands an hour, right? It's millions a day.
Hmm.
It's a huge number. So there, obviously, security is
Yeah,
super important, right? They can't have a
yeah,
breach. Um, and so we get to, as entities that are organizations that are not Chase, we get the luxury of thinking, who's going to
hmm,
come after little old us, right? Because we're not
yeah.
Chase Bank. We're not, you know, nobody's coming after, but it ends up happening. And so I think everybody, it's kind of like that whole saving your document. Everybody learned that lesson once early on,
Hmm.
or at some point. Some people, it's funny, you get some people who've gone like 10 years and they're like, oh, I lost my work. Oh, when did you last save it? Well, yesterday I left and I didn't save it before it's like, seriously? Like, really?
Yeah,
You've been working for, 10 years and today you're learning that you have to save and save frequently.
yeah.
So it's funny because security's along that same line. So I think that's
And
really good to
yeah,
hear these stories.
we did not realize the post impact of cyber breach until we experienced it firsthand, right? All the attorney general's office, they want explanation. They all get hacked. We see that in the news, but it doesn't matter. You know, you have to you need to explain yourself. Even if you have one employee, we are spread out across different states, so we had to report to every attorney general's office. Some of them got back asking for very detailed explanation, and we got some warning. We were not issued fine. We were doing few things well, right? And also the effort that we put in to recover and harden our systems right after the attack. All that I feel like was pretty convincing for them to say that our mind was at the right place. We didn't want to cut corners and we want to take things seriously. But Attorney General's office, they don't spare you. Then,
Yeah.
depending on who your client is, some of our clients, they all wanted explanation. It, it, I would say, I think the start to finish, it lasted for like 3 weeks to a month. But that education, I cannot get that education even with $100,000 MBA, going to school. Not
Yeah.
just me. I'm speaking for the entire team, for maybe to some extent for our entire organization. You know.
Let me ask you, in retrospect, looking
Uh-huh.
back on the experience, is there anything that could have been presented to you that would have made you take security, but would have made you take the necessary steps or take security, prioritize security before that event happened? Can you imagine anything that would have done it other than the actual event?
No, I'm not. I haven't seen any sort of security awareness program out there that talks about, what like a executive level security awareness program that talks about the process of uh, the activities that as an organization you need to perform during the cyber breach while you're actively experiencing one and trying to come out of it, and then after the breach, how you get back to business. This is maybe companies have that in their incident response plan, but I really doubt if an organization has not been through one or the CISO has not personally experienced one. I really doubt if their information, the incident response plan would capture some of these elements. I really doubt it.
I think you're right. And I think the challenge is for those people, like, did you, if you don't mind answering, did you have an incident response plan before this happened?
We had a business continuity plan
Right.
that basically rolled a sequence in which we would roll back our 40 different applications.
Yep.
Uh,
It's
it's a business
backups,
case.
right? It was like, how do we get things back online? Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. And I think that's the thing. It's this like it's this cookie cutter template. It's like, yeah, we have to have one. Boom, and
Yeah.
knocked it out. Here you go. It's on paper, but it doesn't really the impact isn't there. And I think about it like we've had this conversation with a lot of other CIOs who came to an organization who were the CIO had the experience and they understood how important it was, but the organization they joined not so much, right? Would
Mhm.
and so the way that they ended up kind of getting the stakeholders, all of the it kind of all the executives in the organization on board was they did this tabletop exercise where they said, where they're like, okay, hey, and they didn't even call it a tabletop exercise. They're like, hey, we need to do this strategic planning thing. I know it'll be quick. I just need 30 minutes of everybody's time. Like,
Mhm.
do we have to do it? They're like, yeah, we do. Okay, for like compliance thing, right? Cool. So they go and they're like, okay, here's what we need to do. Um, we need to figure out what would we do if we came in today and all of the computers had ransomware notices on them. They're like,
Mhm.
what do you mean? That's your job. You're like, but no. What do we do? Doesn't matter. Like pointing the finger doesn't help. What's our plan? We don't
Yeah.
have yeah, that's what we're here to figure out. What do we do? Because it could
Yeah.
happen. But like, how could this happen? But we have antivirus. Antivirus doesn't protect you from ransomware. Oh, but can't we get like an EDR that does it? Okay, well, we should get an EDR, but that's probably not going to be the only thing we need. And so then they start thinking about it. And at the end, they're like, holy crap, I didn't realize how. But what gets me is how can we as a community kind of get these ideas out? And it's tough when you haven't experienced it, right? I mean, if nobody in the organization has experienced it, then it's like, well, just as you said, what we're doing must be working. We must be doing the right
Mhm.
things, even though we're not doing
Mhm.
all the things. Maybe we
Mhm.
found the sweet spot, right? Where we can just do
Yeah.
this. It's behind the firewall. We're safe. If
Yeah.
only that were the case, right? Um,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I think that's the great mystery that, I don't know that there's an answer, but I like that kind of you having gone through that or in a kind of a unique position to kind of ponder, is there
In fact,
any way to have reached me?
in fact, I would also point to. So I attended one of the security conference. In fact, last year, where we got an award on the for innovative implementation on the security side, right? So for that, I attended the CSO 50 conference, and I'm not, I don't want to give a different name, but I think his name is Tim. He used to the chief information security officer for SolarWinds. He gave a talk, and his talk was all about his experience on day one, day two, day three through the cyber breach. And the profound aspect of that is until then, I was embarrassed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Until I listened to that talk, I was embarrassed to talk about it. I wouldn't have brought it up to you like, hey, I got breached. Right? It's not a badge of honor, but
Yeah.
or maybe it is.
I think it should be.
It is because that is I can say uh, there is a difference between a CISO who has experienced cyber breach and any individual. who has, CISO not experienced a cyber breach, and any individual may not even be a CISO, anyone, even a small entrepreneur, own business owner who has been through a cyber breach and got back on their foot. So that is a difference.
I don't mean to interrupt your story because I want to hear the end of it, but I think the perspective is you're now battle hardened, right? We think of this as soldiers who've gone to combat, and that is a badge of honor. Now you have that, and we have to normalize that as like not like, oh crap, I let my organization get hit. No, you've managed that. You've been to battle. You've come out the other end, and now you're better for it. And any organization is going to be better having you there than somebody who hasn't been through that. So yeah, I think battle hardened is now what you are. Please continue your story though.
So yeah, that's the part.
Okay.
That's
So
the
I
part.
want to
That's
get
the
back to the
elevator
award.
part.
So it was this is really cool because now you're getting an innovation in security award, right? So you went from being not security minded at all, right? Kind of oblivious to security and just kind of fine with it. And now, having that breach and now getting an award. Can you tell us about the award and what was it, what
Yeah.
specifically?
Oh, definitely, definitely. In fact, we have, as a team, we have taken it upon ourselves to at least come up with one innovative idea and an implementation every year generally on the technology side that would enable the business. So which we are the forum is the CIO 100. So we try to, of course, this year we did not get it as an organization, but our last 2 years we were able to get the CIO 100 award for different implementations. And likewise on the CSO side, they have the CSO 50 award. This is a found right CDC, right? That's the organization. So we have the CSO 50 award. So the first award was prime, and all this has a flavor to the zero trust. We wanted to build because we are the first award was about identity. Just-in-time identity creation. We wanted to bring in automation. The reason is we are a construction company, right? We are so decentralized. Not every person in the company is onboarded by the HR department. You have the craft employees that are onboarded directly at the job site. Some of them are from the unions, depending on the state where you operate. Then definitely the termination does not happen at the main office. There is no real, not everybody is flown into the headquarters or stuff like that. So the onboarding part and the termination part is also decentralized, happens at the job site. So this entire aspect of identity creation, especially at a point in time like where there are numerous entrepreneur startup companies that wants to service the construction industry space, and they are bringing use cases that would touch everybody in the company, like the craft guys who are like from like a historical standpoint, they are outside the scope of IT. We don't give a computer, we don't give an identity to any superintendent or a craft employee. But that's not the case anymore. Like you have safety applications, you have so many modern innovative solutions that can be leveraged by every person in the organization. So now we started seeing identities that are typically outside our scope, not part of the HR onboarding and termination. And so we cannot have a policy where we will create an identity for anyone. At the same time, we cannot say that, oh, these are for craft employees, we don't have a policy to create, so we are not going to allow them to adapt technology. So neither of these extremes are possible. So the only thing that makes sense is a just-in-time identity creation, right? And because we have embraced Azure completely, we are, and also there is this developer in me that always pops out and comes with like a software implementation solution for every problem, right?
There is one. It just happens to be the case.
Yeah. So all that put together, we use Power Automate to orchestrate this entire identity creation on demand. Like, if somebody needs an application and they put in a, request. But before that, it was more of the core essence of the first award project was master data management, because we are a group of companies. Employees go from one company to another. It's not like a company takes over an entire state. It's like multiple companies coexist in the same state.
Right.
So you have projects managed by one company, then we have joint ventures. People, there are sometimes employees work on multiple companies. Today, company A, tomorrow company B, and sometimes they are the supervision employees are moved from one project to another across different companies. So we have this continuous HR nightmare, which sometimes directly affects the help desk in terms of how long it takes for us to get all the employees have access to technology. But beyond that, just going back to our cyber breach, which was caused by mismanaged identities, this is like a recipe for disaster if we did not manage it. And so this is where the just-in-time identity management, building a master database of people, we are just based on their social security number. If you are part of the same group, your domain probably would remain the same. And if you're part of a joint venture that is managed by our company, then which is also managed by our IT, your domain would be different. But then, how do we manage all these internal transfers and not lose our mind around that, right? So we built this rule engine, from a software developer's term, like a piece of code, but zero trust, you call it a rule engine. So we built this automated rule engine, we built this automation, all this fits into your zero trust principles. Like you want to have an automated rule engine that drives your policies, like a policy engine, and create identities on demand. So this was our 2023 implementation. 2024, we focused on documents because for every project in the organization, we would provide a project folder in our network drive. This was our state. And these network drives, if you think of any construction project, you can compare that to any full-blown organization, with the project manager being the CEO. You have a cost engineer or the cost manager or project controls person being the CFO. Then you have the procurement guy. Then you have the admins or anybody who's taking care of the vendor procurement, material receipts, approving invoices, billing the owners, getting the money and sending it back to the back office. So every project, and you have the safety, you have the quality, and you have the IT. We are part of the initial mobilization, ongoing operations. We take care of their internet service, cell phones, printers, you name it, right? So every construction project, irrespective of the size of the project, is a microcosm for a complete organization to itself. Now, a folder, which is supposed to be their document library, would have a subfolder for each of these functional units, right? So you need granular level permissions. If at all you want to apply segregation of duties and principle of least privilege, all those fundas. If you want to apply at a project level, you have to do it at a more lower tier level in a folder structure. It is impossible to do all this on for a company of our size with the overhead of our size, the small team. It's impossible to manage all this manually on a traditional network drive. So the least point of segregation was the project itself. So if a safety guy wanted to have access to safety folder, they not only get access to safety folder, they get access to the cost folder, they get access to the craft personal folder. You have PIIs, like, we grab PIIs while we onboard our craft employees. So all those documents are sitting right there. So there is no least privilege. You get complete access to it, right? So this is a problem, and the solution also, the overall framework or the requirements is already provided by Zero Trust. You need to have apply the principle of least privilege. You need to have a micro segmentation. But how do we achieve all that? So we leveraged automation. We leveraged graph APIs to create folders automatically, like a standardized folder and a subfolder structure. We tied our roles to these folders. So if you have access to the role, then automatically you are gaining access to these folders. So, and it was fully orchestrated by Power Automate. We had some master tables that are part of the rule engine. And then when a new job is created through automation, the folders are created. When a new employee is onboarded, as soon as they receive a role on a project, they will get access to the folders that are mapped to those roles. And when they are terminated, the access is automatically terminated. So this was the title was Zero Trust Document Management. So this was our last year's award-winning project.
Very cool. Well, and congratulations. I mean, that's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
And I love the story of, the progression of your focus on security to go from zero to award-winning hero, I think is really fantastic. So congratulations on that. And Sri, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been, I think you've shared some great stories, some great information. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and where they can find out more about OHLA USA?
Sure. I mean, OHLA USA, the website is www.ohla-usa.com. And we have a lot of career opportunities in this organization, especially on our operations side. So anybody who is a project engineer, project manager in the construction space, they should surely check us out. You would be able to find, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, Srivatsan Raghavan and OHLA USA. That's the company I work for. So
fantastic.
Not
Perfect.
difficult to find.
Sri, well, thanks again for coming on. Until next time.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.